I'm Stephen Sergiovanni, and I'm the curator for the 66th Art of the Northeast at Silvermine Art Center. I looked at over 600 submissions for the show, and I didn't want it to be thought of as good and bad in terms of looking at art. I initially just went through and familiarized myself with the artists who submitted, and I just chose work that seemed to kind of fit in a thread that I was kind of creating with the show. And I wanted to kind of put things in categories, and it seemed that I came up with nature, home, environment, materials. I wanted to include a broad array of artists, all working in a wide variety of materials. I chose these pieces by John Small, who's actually the best in show for this exhibition. And what I loved about John's work is they definitely had this nature thing going on. And I thought that in terms of what the environment was for the show and what's outside of this art center, they seemed really appropriate to me. And I love the use of paper and wood. I am really drawn to paper, and I always have been, and I wanted to, it was actually hard for me to kind of broaden my vision outside of just having works on paper. So I kind of went with paintings that also had some imagery. You know, although abstracted, they really felt beautiful and lush and just felt like these, you know, kind of like underwater landscapes in a way. And I thought that they're really beautiful in the use of paint and kind of abstracted enough that they could kind of be what you wanted them to be in a sense. And to me, they just felt like these beautiful landscapes emerging from underwater. I love these sculptural pieces, and they, you know, definitely have a lot of color and are really bold and are really loud. And I had a fear that they weren't gonna work well with others. I liked the materials, and I knew that the materials were really important for the show. So I needed them to kind of be on their own a bit, and I knew that I wanted to include them, but I thought that they were a bit challenging with some of the other pieces I was picking for the show. And I think challenging in a great way. I'm really attracted to work that's very conceptually driven. And so I was looking at work that also, you know, really had a concept about it and was very minimal in a sense. And I was really felt that this work in terms of mapping and categorizing and tracking fit in with a few of the other artists that I knew that I wanted to include immediately. I loved this mark making, and to me this felt very landscape-like. It almost feels nature, animals, and I loved the marks that the artist was creating on these canvases. These pieces are also photographs that really have this beautiful quilting on top. And I really thought that the idea of the landscape and the quilting fit in with a lot of the artists dealing with a sense of home in a way. There was home and nature and environmental issues, and I thought that this kind of summed up a lot of it with these four pieces. These pieces, really bold, and they also are very much about landscape in a way and cityscapes and have so much energy. And I loved the energy that they brought into some of the quieter works that I am at some point gonna soon have installed in this room. These also are these beautiful paper pieces with these collage elements on top, and they're just gorgeous. And I loved the grids that that the artist is using, and also this quality that felt very playful to me, but very meticulous and very hand-done and represented water in my eyes. And I loved that they also felt very mechanical in a sense, but also very free-form and very organic at the same time. These pieces, also by Joseph Smolinski, definitely dealing with the environment. All of these animals have tracking devices on them, and I liked this kind of nature's really popping up in this show, a little more than I thought it would. Wood's appearing a lot too, and I loved this material and just loved this whole idea of this sculptural element and this woven together, and almost feels like, you know, is this a finished piece? What is, you know, it's one piece, but it almost feels like the artist is putting it together on site. As you can see, we're installing now, but it just has this great element of sculpture, and also all of these organic and artificial, and just this whole mix of things that feel like a whole array of materials that are recycled. And I love the idea of kind of, even though the medium is very different than, let's say, this work over there, there's definitely something that is tied together in terms of the thought process of the works. And these also, by Susan Walsh, she's using the sunlight as a big component of her work, and their nails, and she's tracking the lines with the sun. And I love that, again, nature was coming into the work, even though looking at them, you may not know that. She definitely is influenced by Sol LeWitt and Anquara and Fred Sandback. And a lot of these artists, I've noticed, have some sort of association with a few of these artists. It seems that a handful of them have this thing going on with tracking in a way. And these work also, I knew that after I saw them that I wanted them in the same room with the pieces that we just looked at by Susan Walsh because of the light. And I really liked seeing how the light plays with these works, and they really come alive with the light. And if you don't have light on them, they kind of disappear in a sense. So you need that either natural light or artificial light to really have them pop. And I love that they are these really quiet, subtle sculptural pieces. I think they're really beautiful. I was really drawn to the materials of this artist, and she works in video also. So I loved that there was something that was so tactile and so much about her and her hand, making and forming. And then there was also something that was like completely removed in a sense, which was the video element. And they seemed to come together really nicely. This, to me, felt so organic, even though it's probably the other end of the spectrum in terms of being organic. And I loved that it kind of felt like a map or a topographical map, or you're looking down and seeing this landscape. So I was really drawn to that sculptural quality of this work. And it's also really soft, so it feels like you could kind of be in it and be involved in it. But it also, she does performances also, which are part of the video. So it definitely immerses you in an environment. I was really drawn to these pieces because they seem to represent home and a certain struggle in a way. They're using envelopes and bills, and they're collaged. And again, I saw this landscapey quality that I really loved. And I liked that they were portraits in the sense of homes, and you know nothing about who lives there, and there's no evidence of people, so they're kind of void of any physical physical element of anybody who would live there, but you see the windows and there's money behind the windows, and they're just kind of these empty facades to me. And I thought that they really kind of fit in with the idea of home and material and landscape, and also a certain financial struggle that I thought seemed very current with what's going on right now in the world. I loved how the artist was making marks and the paint stroke that he uses. I had thought that this work may not fit in with my grouping initially, so I kind of put it to the side and had kept putting it back in, wanting it to fit, wanting it to fit. I wasn't sure if it did. and it seemed to come together, and I'm really glad it was included. There's a lot of artists that I looked at whose work I really loved, but they just didn't fit in with what I was doing. So, you know, I think it's really important to know that it's not about work that you like or don't like. It's really about kind of work coming together and working well with each other and having some sort of thread that holds it together conceptually. And that's what I was really looking for.